Good Tuesday morning to you. Good busiest commute day of the week day to you. Yeah, Tuesday being what it is. That's all right. We're glad to be with you this morning. Happy to have you with us on Light the Tower, on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9 AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. My name is Craig Way. So glad to have you with us. And Jeff Howe will be along in a little bit. Meanwhile, our producer is here, as always, Cameron Parker, who's on board as well this morning. How you doing this morning, Cam?
Craig, every once in a while, you'll have a moment, an event, something in your life that just reinvigorates you, Craig.
Yeah? Did you have such a thing?
I did. Last night, for the first time since, I think, 2019, I was able to dunk a basketball.
What? No, what? You dunked a basketball last night?
I did.
Wow.
My legs are finally coming back.
Look at you. Have you done anything unusual to, make that happen?
I did more jump roping in my exercise regimen, but nothing crazy. Nothing that I would think. Maybe that was just it. More leg day, but because I'm 6'2.5",
yes.
So I feel like I should be able to dunk at least semi regularly. I hadn't been able to do it in a game. I went for a putback last night. Did not go well.
Yeah?
Was not the move. Warm ups I could dunk, but I'll keep you updated, Craig, on in-game dunking.
So, this, for folks who don't know, you do play. Are you in an actual league, or is this a?
We're not in a league right now. It's just more pickup. Just pick up at Cedar Park.
And how many of you?
See, last night we had about 22, so it was a good amount of guys playing.
Okay, and this is over the Cedar Park Rec Center there, off
yeah.
Discovery. Yeah. Okay, or whatever the street is that goes up through there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how long do the games last when you play?
Ooh, it just depends on.
You're playing to a score?
Yeah, I think usually we do either 15.
Or
if you're
20.
playing full court, it's 20. Some people are like, hey, let's play by 3s and 2s to 30.
What does that mean? 3s and 2s?
So when you have a 3-pointer, because normally when you play pickup basketball, 3-pointers are 2 points, 2-pointers are 1 point.
Okay.
Usually you'll play to 12 or 15, 21 for some reason. And I noticed it a lot more in Texas. They'll do full court to 30 off 3s and 2s, which I'm North Carolina. I grew up 15 and make it take it.
Yeah.
Here it's every other, which makes more sense.
When I was a kid and a teenager, it was all make it take it.
Yeah, that was more fun because then you could just win 15-0 every time.
Yeah, it's like running the table in billiards.
Exactly.
That sort of thing. So, how long have you been doing this? Have you been playing
pickup?
Yeah,
probably
with
my
this
whole
group.
life.
No, I mean
with this group.
Yeah.
Probably since I moved here.
Okay.
So
which was
2016. So
okay.
Different guys have come in and out. People move away and stuff. You go to different locations because we usually, you try to, I played the Clay Madsen in Round Rock. We played the Hill Country Indoor out in Lakeway area, Cedar Park. We used to play outdoors a lot when it's 110 degrees outside.
Not
the smartest idea.
Much.
Yeah, I'm not 18 anymore.
So to give folks a little bit of background on your, I mean, for folks, they've heard they say you're a University of Texas graduate, right?
Sir.
But you said when I moved to the area in 16. So that's from North Carolina?
Yeah.
Okay. So that you've pretty much been in the same group even while you were in college, you were playing pickup with the same group.
Yeah. I mean, I would play more when you're in college, you have intramurals and stuff. So that was really fun. Play more. Try to get some of the guys that come out to the rec center and Gregory Gym and everything when I was there at UT. Because that was fun. Pickup games at Greg, different experience. Because you never know, because you'd be there and you would see some UT football players come in. It's like,
really?
All right, it's probably time for me to leave. I'm not going to get posterized this afternoon.
Okay. You don't want to
I played a few games,
pick up your game?
and it's like, okay, this is why I can't be a professional basketball player. So, okay. It's a good reminder.
Okay. All right.
These athletes are actually athletes.
How is your recovery time these days?
I'm feeling it this morning.
Are you?
This morning, yeah.
A little sore?
Yeah, a little sore.
Okay.
A little sore.
Okay. All right. So, because I'd wonder about, because I know you were still pretty active on a lot of those things. Okay. Several things to get to here on the program, including the fact we'll give away another copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, the 2023 edition. We'll give away a copy of that on the program this morning. Also, we'll have Inconceivable. We have a fast food note with Inconceivable, and it's of a different type, and it's not necessarily about the food as the business of it, so to speak. So we'll have that coming up. We do have Longhorn notebooks coming each of your way. We have our Flex 30 update, where we'll continue with our look at the preseason watch list for the All-Flex team, special teams today. So we'll get to that as well. In the NFL, the breaking news is that the Giants and Saquon Barkley have come to terms. 1-year deal. They say it could be worth up to $11 million for that. They were at an impasse for a while, but he did not go the Le'Veon Bell route. He went ahead and came to a deal, which is good news, at least this year, for the Giants.
Is this because of the running back Zoom meeting, Craig?
How about that? I've heard several different people talk about, both on the national and on our station as well, talk about that running back Zoom. I'm impressed that they got it together.
Yeah.
You think about guys with their schedules. I mean, my goodness. I mean, just for us to have a quorum, in the building, it took some jumping through hoops to get everybody on board with conference calls or Zooms or things like that. But for running backs to do that was pretty impressive for them to do that.
And there wasn't like something that really came out of it. Basically just said, we just talked about it. It's like, okay, I can talk to other people about, not making enough money. Doesn't mean I'm going to get a big contract. Yeah, basically just more of an event session. But, hey, Saquon got his contract. And then with Nyheim Hines, his injury, Buffalo, of course, Dalvin Cook, his brother, plays for the Bills. It seems like Buffalo could go after Dalvin Cook, but, doesn't mean they're going to willing to pay what Dalvin Cook wants, because he wants something close to that $10, $11 million contract, which, I'm surprised Saquon even agreed to it. $2 million signing bonus, up to $11 million if he gets all those incentives. But, the days of these running backs making double digits, I think, are going to be few and far between. I'm interested in seeing what Bijan gets for that first contract, if he can stay healthy, if he plays to the way that we've seen him play, Craig, at UT, and what he can do in the NFL. I'm curious what will happen with his contract, because he's the type of guy that, 20 years ago, he would have for sure probably got something closer to $20 million per year. But what will happen now in this new NFL market? Yeah. Also a few years away from that as well.
Well, and I had originally targeted the Nyheim Hines story as part of Inconceivable, but we've got several other items, so we might as well go ahead and get into it. I mean, for folks who didn't hear, and I heard Bucky and Aaron talking about it as well, it's just bizarre the way it is that he will likely miss the entire season after sustaining that significant knee injury in a jet ski accident. The story was he was sitting stationary on a jet ski and then hit by another rider, causing him to have a serious but non-life-threatening injury. Remember, Hines got picked up in the trade with the Colts last year, and he played 9 games with Buffalo. And it's just a bizarre thing, and so now it looks like he's going to be completely out on that. And I know that some folks say, sure, he was just sitting there, that kind of thing. That particular type of accident type thing might be a little easier to document than, say, some of the other stuff that we've heard about people saying, tripped over my dog or did that. But there have always been the bizarre things, and we talked about those on the program before. Injuring oneself by sneezing. What my personal favorite, because I was covering the team at the time working in Dallas, was Odeby McDowell of the Rangers slicing open a finger, buttering a roll at the team's welcome home luncheon after spring training was done. That actually happened. I was there at the luncheon the day that happened. So there was some bizarre stuff.
We've seen some. Greg, you've seen some. David Hamilton tearing his ACL off a Lime scooter.
Yeah, being on the scooter. I'm glad to see David not only get healthy and get rehab, but be able to reach the major leagues this year with the Red Sox.
Good for him.
So, yeah, glad to hear that. Our Specs text line is open at 337-377-665, 1-2-3-3-7-3776. Bizarro Dale Dudley says, such a lovely story, and he tells it so well. That Longhorn Bear says, I used to play in the old unair-conditioned Gregory Gym and saw Travis Mays once on the next court over. That was on the A court. So it's kind of like, not playing on center court at Wimbledon. You're on court 11 or something like that over there to the side or something.
So is A court, is that where, because occasionally they would open up the volleyball court.
Right.
Is that the A court?
The screen gets pulled back and all that? Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. So, yeah. Our man CB on the Specs text line says, what happens if Dylan Campbell didn't sign his contract? Has until, I believe, 4 o'clock this afternoon to get that done today. And if it does not happen, his name is out of the draft pool, so to speak, and then one would assume he's going to return to the Texas Longhorns. I mean, technically, he could go play independent ball if he wanted to, but I rather doubt that would be the case. I think he'd be back in a Longhorn uniform. So, yeah. So we'll monitor that. We've been kind of watching it from afar. So we'll see. Also, it's pointed out Happy Caddyshack Day, and our man CB had tweeted that out. It was 43 years ago today, July 25th, 1980, that Caddyshack was released. Now, I have a specific related question to ask you about this because you were born well after this movie came out, but I'm sure you've seen it.
I have not, actually.
Wow.
I know. It's shocking.
Okay.
I know. Like, I need to see it. It's one that's on my list. I never got around to it for some reason.
Some movies over the years, and apparently, especially, I guess, in the 70s and 80s, have not held up well over time. This is one that does, simply because of its comedic value and the cast that they have in the movie. So, as CB points out, while Caddyshack 2 may be one of the worst movies ever, the original one is really, really good.
It's a movie that I've still have heard stories over the years from. I feel like I've almost have seen it, but haven't seen it. Like the Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, how they hated each other, but how during their scenes they were just going straight off the dome, improving it, trying to get each other to laugh.
It was great. If you just need somebody to get crazy with, I'm your guy. Cannonball, right back at you. You'd have that, and what does he say? You see, because this is a hybrid of California Sinsemillion and Kentucky bluegrass. So you could play 18 holes on it all day and then get stoned to the bejesus belt. so there's that. Yeah, the characters were so really good. And Longhorn fan in Denton asked me what's your favorite Caddyshack character. I think believe it or not, I think it would probably be Judge Smales. It'd probably be the Ted Knight character because he carried it off so well as a guy who took himself too seriously. Rodney Dangerfield as Al Cervic was Rodney Dangerfield. He was basically just being his stand-up act practically. And Bill Murray's great at characters, and Chevy Chase and his specific way, the way he has done his characters at that time. You kind of got used to that. Ted Knight, as Ted Baxter on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, was a goofball, but he was a vulnerable, kind of lovable goofball. In Caddyshack, he's just supposedly this hard ass that takes himself too seriously. And, you'd hear him when he's talking to Danny Noonan, the caddy, Michael O'Keefe. I've sent boys younger than you to the gas chamber. Didn't want to do it. Felt I owed it to them. He would say all kinds of weird, stupid stuff, and of course, and he had his wife when they had their little bitty boat, and they were christening the boat, and he goes, "It's easy to grin when your ship has come in and you've got the stock market beat. But the man worthwhile is the man who can smile when his pants are too tight in the seat." Go ahead, Pookie, do the honors. Anyway, I christen this the Flying Wasp, and then knocks the little the pointing bow off the bow with the bottle of champagne there. So anyway, it had its moments. We learned so much about that movie later. Cindy Morgan, who plays Lacey Underall, was in very few movies after that. She was kind of traumatized is a tough word for it, but she was from a real conservative church-going family. And anybody who's seen that movie knows that she has a very non-church scene or two in the movie with Chevy Chase, and it so bothered her that the whole industry became incredibly distasteful to her. She was in Tron later in the movie.
So she was almost blackballed because of the scene?
No, she kind of blackballed herself.
Oh.
She just kind of withdrew from it, and I think years later she did interviews and things like that. But it really truly bothered her to do the nude scene in it, and so it was So we learned that about her, and learned lots of other, like you said, learned about Chevy Chase and Bill Murray not liking each other, and yet their one big scene that I was just quoting from when Chevy Chase knocks the golf ball through into the little shack that Carl the greenskeeper is played by Bill Murray is living in, and goes in there, and he's trying to play through, and he winds up having this big bottle of wine with him and getting him to toke on this gigantic doober, and while he's coming, cannonball right back here at you, So
just downloaded on the HBO Max app, Craig. Got a flight to New York coming up, so I will definitely watch it. Now, I think there's probably like 3 really famous comedic golf movies. Of course, Caddyshack.
Yep.
Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
Tin Cup.
Right.
Do you have a preference from the 3?
Oh, well, if I was picking between the 3, it would be Caddyshack. But I liked all of those. I definitely liked all of those. They were good. So yeah. Anyway, somebody said the Flying Wasp. What tongue-in-cheek considering the upper crust people of means. Absolutely. And nobody liked Chevy Chase back then or now, says a texter. Heard he's a total ass. I know there was a lot of stuff. So anyway, yeah, it was something else. Thank you for the compliment on the Judge Smales impersonation. Just you get so used to seeing. I was in college at the time that movie came out, so you got to where you kind of memorized the lines. I saw it at the theater, and I saw it like on HBO, several times or whatever. And you get used to Judge Smales, so I want these creamed, I want these shined, and a cream buff and a chamois on that. And then of course, and Bucky and Aaron were talking about his nephew Spalding, who's just grotesque. I want a hamburger. No way. I want a cheeseburger. I want a hot dog. You'll get nothing and like it. That's where that phrase, you'll get nothing and like it, comes from. As well as, well, we're waiting. There when he's putting on, when Danny Noonan is putting on 18.
A classic meme that I always will send to friends who are taking too long to respond to a text.
That's in the climactic scene of the movie. When he's lining up that putt. And when Noonan agrees to play in place of the injured Al Cervic, he goes, "Oh, my arm's broke." He's waving his arm after he got hit on the ricochet, and they add him instead of Cervic to play alongside to play alongside Ty, who is the Chevy Chase character, against Judge Smales and Dr. Beeper. And the match, it's going to be for $40,000 and $80,000, and then they double it or something, or $40,000 and then they double it to $80,000 or whatever, that sort of thing. And earlier in the movie, when Noonan was being kind of a suck up to the judge and trying to get a scholarship, he wants to go to law school, and he said, "Well, I'd like to go to law school, but my parents don't have the means." Well, the world needs ditch diggers too. That sort of thing. And then after he catches her, and it's Danny Noonan who has the real nude scene with Cindy Morgan, not quite as much Chevy Chase. They're in his pool later, but he catches them after he's hiding in the shower, and he comes in or he goes to jump into the bathroom, and his wife is in the shower, and she thinks it's him walking in. "Elihu, come loofah my stretch marks," and then sees him, and then he chases him around, and he runs out, and then he calls him in later, and he goes, "My niece has a certain zest for living," and ask him to do that. So, okay, how about a fresca, Mr. Scholarship winner? And then when he decides to play with him, he goes, "I guess you don't want that scholarship. I guess you don't. I guess you don't. I guess you don't." So, I mean, there's lots of lines and lots of byplay that happens in the course of that, and not to mention the caddies themselves and the whole swimming pool scene where the baby Ruth gets in there, "Duty!" and they're all going in, and then when they're cleaning up the pool, and Ted Knight is saying, "I want this entire pool clean and deodorized and disinfected," and then it's Carl down there. And Carl Spackling, the cat, and Bill Murray, and he picks up the baby Ruth, and the judge's wife is about to faint. Oh, and he goes, "Hey, it's no big deal," and he takes a big bite out of it, and she just faints, And then there's the famous scene where Cinderella boy, she's about to become a master champion, and he's killing the flowers there with a rake. So anyway. It's great.
Greg, I hate to interrupt the table read, but we have some breaking news.
Let's have it. Let's have the breaking news. Yeah.
Jim Callis from MLB Pipeline is reporting that Dylan Campbell has signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers for a $500,000 contract, about $60K over slot value.
No. So wait a minute.
37 over slot value.
So wait a minute. He's the Dodger fan I am, but I said it yesterday. I wanted Dylan the selfish side of me wanted Dylan to stay one more year in a Longhorn uniform. But as a Dodger fan, okay, yeah, I'm more than any of the rest of that. I'm happy for Dylan Campbell. So I'm happy for DC, and that's got $500,000 to sign. Okay, it'll be interesting to see where they send him.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, late July, it might just be to the complex in Arizona. It could be they could send him to the Midwest League to play for the Great Lakes Loons. Could be that, which would be low-A minor league baseball. I don't know. It depends. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But congratulations to Dylan Campbell. We're glad for him. Even though, like I said, I personally would have liked to have seen him suit up one more season as a Longhorn.
Bittersweet for you, Craig.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I mean, and now that he is signed and in the system, obviously I'll be following him very, very closely. Just like I'm following what Ivan Melendez has done, even though he's in the Diamondbacks organization, but he's tearing it up for the Amarillo Sod Poodles in the Texas League right now after starting off what he was doing at single-A ball for the Hillsboro Hops. And now at Double-A, looks like he's on a fast track, or at least on a really steady rise through the minor leagues.
Had a double whammy on Sunday, a pair of home runs. I'm curious, do you think the Diamondbacks, because they're in a playoff hunt right now for the wild card spot as well.
Yeah.
In the NL.
Now they've been
division.
struggling lately.
Yeah.
They've lost 7 of 8, I think, and because of the Dodgers bullpen collapse in the 11th inning last night against the Blue Jays, they didn't drop another game, but they lost to the Cardinals, giving up a 5-run ninth at home in Phoenix last night. And the Giants also struggling. They had a makeup game with the Tigers yesterday and lost that.
Yeah.
So L.A. still up 4 in the West on those two. But, yeah, it'll be interesting, especially with the D-backs. I mean, I think that Ivan stands a really good chance of being a September call-up.
Yeah.
I certainly think there's a chance of that.
I wonder if that's what they're going to do as they're kind of falling off in this playoff hunt right now. This season with Amarillo, batting .308. He's only had 29 plate appearances, so a small sample size.
And how many home runs out of those 29 plate appearances?
6.
6.
Sorry, 8. He's at 8. And then remember, he had 18 in Hillsborough this season instead of a team record. Hillsborough Hop's record for most home runs in a single season.
Yeah.
And he only played 58 games with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So good for him. And, of course, he's not that far from family. I mean, he's 600 miles, but, you say, West Texas, Amarillo. Listen, if you've ever been up in Amarillo or if you've ever been in El Paso, that's a long drive. You basically cut across southwestern New Mexico when you do it. I did it a few years ago when the Longhorns had a basketball game on the Army base at Fort Bliss against Arkansas. Regular season game, early season game. And played on the Army base at Fort Bliss. That was the night the internet went out, and when I was on the telephone calling everything from the under 4 mark of the first half till the under 12 timeout of the second half on a telephone, and then they got it back up and running again, and the press officer for the Army base apologized to us. I'm sorry that the internet just kind of went out across the entire base. And then that's when I said to him, I'm less concerned about the fact that we got knocked off, the internet got knocked off the air and had to do it on the telephone for about a little over 45 minutes. I'm more concerned about our nation's defense system. If the entire internet went out on a military installation, one of the largest military installations in the country. But after the game, my engineer, Dave Garrett, and I drove from El Paso to Lubbock because the Longhorns had a football game the next day against Texas Tech. And it was a day game. It wasn't a night game. So we had to drive through the night. So you're cutting across southwestern New Mexico and, through Carlsbad and all that other kind of stuff to cut off the angle rather than go all the way around like that. So, and then you just think about this. Amarillo's another 127 miles north of Lubbock.
Yeah.
130 miles north of Lubbock up on I-27. So it's a ways to go up there if you want. But it's a lot closer than Hillsboro, Oregon, I can tell you that, in the Portland area. So very good. Very, very good good for Ivan, clearly. Bizarro Dale Dudley says it could take you through the thriving metropolis of Jal, New Mexico. JAL's at Jal or is it Howe? I don't know. We just went through. Somebody said, I was moving a U-Haul from El Paso to Austin, looking at 9.5 hours, not looking forward to it. Yeah, that'll take a time. And then somebody said, Saquon 1 year, isn't that basically what he would have got on the tag? Could have been. Absolutely. So, anyway, some said maybe the best first segment ever, listening to Craig replay the entire movie on Caddyshack. Somebody else going a little long on Caddyshack. Oh, yeah. Well, it is Happy Caddyshack Day to you. So there you go. All right, coming up, and lots of folks are loving this. How about a Fresca? Loving that, the Caddyshack stuff. So, yeah, it was 43 years ago today. The Haverkamps playing golf. Lady knocks the ball on. That's a peach, hon. Whee! She's knocking the golf balls just into the lake there. Another guy hits in the caddy tournament, hits the ball up, and it rolls into the bunker from the fairway. And he says something. The other guy goes, no, looks good, right on the beach. So there's A lot of memorable lines that come from that movie, especially if you like golf or whatever. All right. When we come back, Jeff Howe's in the building. We'll have our Longhorn notebook. We already had the breaking news about Dylan Campbell, but we'll have more coming your way when we continue with Light the Tower on the Horn, 1049, 1019, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. You know, you can probably still, I'm sure you can, whatever. I don't know which platform it's available on, but you could probably still stream Caddyshack. And, you know, if you don't have your streaming thing set up properly with your television the way you want, or maybe you just want a better home entertainment experience, that's where you need to be in touch with Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations. Because if you're interested in, say, one of those big home entertainment experiences, as the rental car agent said to me the one time when I got the big SUV, oh, you want the big Mamba Jamba. If you want the big one, you could go 90 inches up to 150 inches on the screen. You could do that. Or if you're just interested in the 75-inch HD TV, but you don't want to deal with the big box stores and have to, you know, deal with that, that's cool too. It's understandable. Tom and his staff have the equipment, the knowledge, and the expertise to make it happen. Check it out for yourself on the web at avconsultations.com. And Tom is staying competitive with his pricing as well. So you don't have to worry about dealing with the overpriced items in those big box stores also. Give him a call, 512-255-8678. Let Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment system of your dreams. This is Light the Tower on the Horn. Craig Way, our producer Cameron Parker, and now joining us, the co-host, the pride of Northwest Williamson County, a proud graduate of Florence High School. You know him best for his outstanding work at Horns 24/7, into which he was engaged and involved up until just a few moments ago. But now, free of that yoke, at least for the next 90 minutes, is Jeff Howe.
Good news, Dylan Campbell has signed with the Dodgers. Bad news is I've had to rework the first hour notebook on the fly. But we do have some, it's not breaking news, but some interesting news to get to in the notebook.
You just said good news there. You know, a lot of Longhorn fans are not going to be in agreement with you.
I think everybody should have known this was going to happen. And Dylan Campbell just got $500,000 to play pro baseball.
Yep. So you got to be happy for him.
Yeah.
Now, when you say, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but when you say I think everybody should know this was going to happen, I think you'd probably agree that when it comes down inside the last, 18 hours or something like that, hopes all of a sudden begin to rise that maybe this thing doesn't.
I always wonder if those negotiations are like negotiations when you're closing on a car. Anybody ever gotten the bid I got to do when we bought my wife's car?
Did you do the George Costanza? I'll walk right out of here. Did you do that?
No, and I'm so glad I got to do this. We're down to it, and I had suggested like a ridiculous price. Like, I think the thing was listed at 21 something. And keep in mind, the car prices for SUVs have changed in the last
just a little bit,
6-7 years,
a little bit.
And I was like, I want to pay 14, walk out the door. And I was like, there's no way we can do that. I was like, well, what's the best you can do? So we're negotiating back and forth. Finally get it down to where I want it to be. We're $500 apart. And they said, one of the managers says, I mean, come on, are you going to walk away from this deal for $500? And I look at the sales guy who's dealing with it. I was like, you going to walk away from this sale over $500? I ended up getting what I wanted.
Look at you.
I'm Craig. You know me. I'm kind of a shy person. I'm an introvert. But when it comes to negotiations like that, I don't know. I just
you can be a monster.
My bag of what's to give empties out when I walk through the door.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that probably there's a lot of those guys. I don't know if you get it. Sometimes when I've bought cars in the past from different folks and different things, the line I always get is look. It's kind of like I'm taking all the risk here line from Pawn Star. It's like I'm getting almost zero commission on this thing. I'm just so it's kind of a sympathy card being played a little bit, I think, with some of that. Anyway, okay, so let's just sashay right on into the notebook.
You guys seen this update on Bronny James?
Yeah. Bucky and I were talking about that, and then we mentioned that. Hopefully, he's going to be okay. Suffered a cardiac arrest on the floor, but out of he's resting comfortably, stable condition now. So scary moment.
Scary stuff. I don't know how we transitioned from that to other things, but did you guys see Arch Manning? Has his first announced NIL deal.
Yeah, and I thought about you immediately because of what it is.
It's right up my alley.
It is.
And I'll tell you how insane this is. So he signed a multi-year deal with Panini, the trading card manufacturer, which Panini right now has the licenses for the NFL, the NBA, although they'll lose those in the next few years to Fanatics. They've got WWE, UFC. They've got some NCAA stuff. For the time being, the MLB Players Association. Actually, they don't have the Players Association license anymore. So Quentin Ewers just recently signed a deal with Panini. Arch Manning has his deal with Panini. They do have NCAA licensing. Arch Manning's first trading card, it is a throwback to the first year Panini put out NFL Prism, which is their kind of trademark hallmark set. It's their flagship set.
Okay.
It is a one of one, so this is the only one in existence. It's a Prism Black Arch Manning autograph.
For folks, it's the card itself is black, right?
The borders are black.
The borders are black.
Kind of the parallel. It's the only one in existence. And when I stopped for gas down the street. What's the Rudy's, like 5 minutes from here?
Right.
I looked at the bids. The high bid was $1,060 in this auction for this one of one.
Okay.
Right now, which is 15 minutes later. The high bid's over $10,000 for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's going to fetch a pretty penny. So I've got to imagine, for the Manning family to do that, I got to imagine Arch got himself a nice little payday.
Well,
$10,050 is the current high bid.
And then somebody said he wouldn't sign anything until he is the starter money talks. Before you go that far in your thinking, also, all of the proceeds from the sale go to St. David's Healthcare and St. David's Foundation.
Awesome.
All. So for those of you who are wanting to jump on it for that, understand that's it. They've made a very direct point in saying all of the proceeds from the sale of that first card are to go to the St. David's Healthcare and St. David's Foundation. So at least, like you said, the low bid, the high bid right now is $10,000.
It's a little over $10,000. Yep.
Okay, so whatever that one card fetches, 100% of it's going to St. David's.
But our Arch still probably got paid.
Oh, I'm sure he got paid.
And it's a multi-year deal. And you got to understand with Panini, too. Yes, they manufacture trading cards, but you're talking about memorabilia. Like, you look at the players and the athletes who have, their Panini exclusive guys. Luka Doncic is a Panini exclusive. Vanessa Bryant and Kobe's estate, all his stuff. If it's a Kobe autograph, it's going to be a Panini exclusive. There are a lot of guys that are Panini exclusive signers. Now, some of those guys are becoming Fanatics exclusive signers. That's a whole different deal of minutia you can get into. But yeah, this is not some mom and pop company. This is a multi-million, dare I say at times, multi-billion-dollar company that the Manning family is doing business with.
Are you saying this is not Bijan Mustardson?
Not. I think Arch is getting a little bit better mustard. This is more Lamborghini money than mustard money.
And again, my point is this: you're exactly right, Jeff. I'm sure he is getting paid for it, but the highest dollar item of what he's doing, right off the top, is that black bordered card that you talk about, where all of the proceeds from that are going to St. David's. Now, is he getting paid? Sure he is. But there is something to be said also for what he's doing there for that also.
Yeah, I went to Panini thinking, oh, hey, maybe I can get an Arch card. I didn't know it was the one of one. And yeah, it's, let's see. It's 4 days left in this auction. It's in the time we've been talking, $11,000 now the high bid.
Okay, so there you go. Wow.
Yeah, dog. Arch is getting paid. I want to go ahead and continue our kind of off-season, kind of camp preview, season preview stuff. So yesterday, do you have anything to add, Craig? I don't know.
No, the only other thing I was going to say about Dylan Campbell is when we were and Jeff and I were talking, Cameron and I were talking about this. It'll be interesting to see what level of minor league ball they start him at, and they might just choose to send him to the complex in Arizona. Since we're now into late July, he could maybe be sent to low A ball in Michigan. I think it's in Midland, Michigan, where the Great Lakes Loons are. It's low A ball there. It could be that, but they might just want to send him to the complex, get him acclimated to things before fall ball comes up.
Just some Arizona Fall League.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think there's probably a good chance of that.
And I think for DC too, as much baseball as he's played in his career at Texas, I'm sure the time off, and not that he hasn't been working out or training anything, I'm sure the time off does him well. Before we get into football, though, we got plenty of time to get into football. Since DC's deal is done, let's go ahead and look at this Longhorn baseball team for 2024 and what you're looking at now. So now, if you're David Pierce, now you know who you've got coming back. You know who's not coming back for sure now. The blessing in disguise, we talk about, hey, the good news, bad news bit. Bad news that Porter Brown didn't get drafted. Good news is that he's back for another year, so that's going to help your outfield.
Yep.
Talking to David Pierce down in Houston last week, he's over the moon excited. That might be an understatement. When I asked him which guys are going to contribute right away of this freshman class, Will Gasparino. Like I've told you this, I didn't even finish the question, and he was talking about Will Gasparino. They're really excited about him. He would have been, a top. Well, Craig, probably top 2 round pick, maybe a top 3 round pick, but it gets to a point in the draft where guys are comfortable with their college decision, and if they're not taken ideally where they want and the number is high enough, they've got the leverage to say, hey, if you're not willing to pay me this number, I'm perfectly happy with my college decision, and that's kind of the boat Will Gasparino was in. So he'll be part of that outfield mix. Does Ace Whitehead get in that outfield mix? Max Ballou actually has had a really good summer out in California hitting the ball. So I feel like between your corner outfield mix, your center field mix, between Gasparino, Ballou, some of those newcomers, I don't know. It feels like Ace Whitehead at this point is probably going to stay on the mound, I would think, unless it's kind of a midweek game and you just need an extra outfield or whatever. But it feels like your outfield mix is pretty set. You know, Jared Thomas is back. Jalen Flores is back. Peyton Powell is back. Jack O'Dowd is back. So unlike this past season, with the exception of catcher, you bring everybody back. You know, we were talking about last year, hey, Mitch Daly's the only returner on the infield. Well, the only thing you've got, the only position you've got to replace is going to be catcher with Garrett Gilmette signing with the Astros. But you've got two really good catchers they're excited about, Nick Sanders from Waco University, and you've got Oliver Service coming in. Also, Ryan Galvan's going to be a sophomore. He's another year experience. And I think how quickly we forget, Craig, everybody gets excited about the freshman. Ryan Galvan was one of those guys that could have easily been playing pro baseball this past season.
Yeah. Ryland was drafted, but you're right. And I think he did improve a lot. Now there's still, and David Pierce has talked about that, there's some things they want to work on with him. But it's funny that you mention him because he was one of the guys that Keith Moreland was talking about. He could see possibly turning into a really accomplished hitter for Texas. And Keith Moreland, by the way, will be in studio with us on Thursday morning. Jeff will be out tomorrow and Thursday, and Bucky's going to be here in the 10 o'clock hour. He's going to stick around for an hour as we'll do one last hour together during our time here in this building, and then Keith will be here at 11 o'clock on Thursday. So we'll get his thoughts on what the Longhorn roster looks like, and we'll talk obviously big league ball with him on Thursday as well. But to your point, Keith was saying that Ryland Galvan is one of those guys that they think, and he believes, could wind up being a really accomplished power hitter for Texas. Yeah,
and then you've got, how are these transfers going to factor in? Seth Borchan from Penn. We talked last week about Luke Storm from Duke, big 6'5", 240-pound infielder. Does he if Max Ballou doesn't get an outfield spot, I would imagine he probably factors into your DH mix at some point. We know Jalen Flores was in that mix last year, but he's probably going to get every opportunity again to be the everyday shortstop. So you've got a lot of really good tools to work with in terms of what you've got returning. And your pitch, look, David kind of laughed when I asked him about it. I said, I mean, you got to feel pretty good. You know, you lose Gino, but you got to feel pretty good when you can think about a weekend rotation and you can just pencil in Tanner Witt and LBJ and then work everything from there. And he's excited about what Charlie Hurley can do this fall to maybe round out a really good weekend rotation. And, you got to replace some bullpen pieces because you relied a lot on Zane Morehouse, Zane Morehouse was so good at the end of the year. You kind of wish you'd gotten that from him over a bigger chunk of your season. Maybe things go a little different, but Zane Morehouse pitched well. When Travis Staley was kind of a guy that really, Craig, kind of did whatever they needed him to do. You need him to spot start. You need him to long relief. You need him to just come in for a short burst and get you a couple critical outs. Kind of used him for a little bit of everything. So you got to rework some pieces in that bullpen. But I feel like from a pitching standpoint, the foundation's much better now than it was maybe a year ago.
Yep.
When we didn't know about LBJ yet, we didn't know what Tanner Witt's situation was going to be. I think if you're David Pierce and that staff, Chris Gordon working with the pitchers, I think you feel like you're in a much better spot than you were a year ago.
Sure enough. CP says people on Twitter are already ripping his signature on the card.
At least you can read it, though. At least you can read Arch's signature. I'll show you during the break, Craig. There's some bad ones
that are difficult to read.
I think it's Cam Reddish, former Duke star.
Yeah.
I don't even know Cam Reddish with the Knicks now. I think if you look at Cam Reddish's rookie autographs, it's just a line, like a single line.
Wow.
Like you just got tired of signing stickers and
cards. At least you can see the A in Arch.
No, you can. I'll show you real quick if it'll pull up.
Yeah.
You can read his. See, look, you can. Now it's not the best penmanship, but you can read. That's his name, right?
Oh, well, it went away.
See, look, you can. That's his name. Look, you can read it clearly.
Oh, it's pretty clear. I don't know what they'd be ripping him for, and don't really care. I would say,
CB,
anybody check your check the constituency, the fan constituency of those doing the ripping, and you'll have your answer.
No, I would say Arch's signature. I mean, go look at his uncles. You seen Peyton's autograph? That's not exactly nice and free flowing. It kind of looks like, dude, was he a few Bruce's in when he signed this thing? Eli's isn't perfect either, but I think Arch's autograph is yet another example that they don't teach cursive in school anymore. Correct?
They don't. That's one of those things we had that conversation about, things you did in school back in the day that you don't do, that aren't done anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever was taught, specific subject matter, or just things that you got in the school cafeteria. I know the guys were talking about outside in the hallway before we got going about certain vaccinations that happen in your school days. There are lots of things that were done differently in school back in the day. And writing cursive was one of those things you had to work on it. You had to practice on it.
I've been putting this run of Longhorn football contenders rookie ticket autos from the Contender series.
Yeah,
and you can see like the autographs, how they go through the years. Like you look at like Colt McCoy's autograph and Jordan Shipley and Aaron Williams. Like the penmanship is really good, and you can read it. And then you get down to like Charles Omenihu, and I love Charles, but it's just like a C with a line. I'm like could have put a little more effort into that, Charles. And then like you could see like guys like Sam Ellinger and Cameron Dicker are trying really hard to like write cursive, but they don't really write with it a lot. So it just kind of, I don't know, it might look like a third grader wrote it. So
Albert Breer says it looks like his 8-year-olds.
Exactly, because guys don't know how to write cursive.
Yeah, okay, all right. He's probably also trying to write it within you know how you write sometimes when you have to sign your name, like in one of those deals in a tight space, like a DocuSign or something, and it takes. I will also tell you this: that is one of those skills that if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't practice, if you don't write much in handwriting, cursive handwriting, it gets a little bit sloppy. I've noticed that about my own.
Plus, if you're not used to, I see guys struggle with this. If you ever buy Leaf All-American products from the All-American Bowl, and want to know why some of those autographs look the way they do, some guys just aren't used to signing autographs yet.
Yeah.
So they're not really sure kind of what to do.
Do they still teach it? Because I remember it was like second, third grade is when you had to go through.
That's when you had to do the whole
cursive,
alphabet and write this stuff.
Then
you see that chart across.
My wife works at a private school, and I think in some of the lower school grades they still teach it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Public school is hard because everything, I don't want to get on a public education rant, but it's a lot about standardized tests and whatnot.
Bizarre Dale Dudley says, I missed that rectangular pizza from Molly B. Dawson Elementary.
Man, ain't nothing like square pizza, Salisbury steak in the cafeteria. I would eat that meal.
The corn
right now.
Right there on that. They don't get the bread.
Did you ever figure that out, Cameron? Was that a deal in your school? Like you get the square pizza with corn?
Yeah, why they give you, because they felt like they were giving you a vegetable, even though we know corn is not technically a vegetable.
Starch on
yeah,
starch.
I remember that. I remember how fire the pizza was, though.
With like some jello usually on the side.
The low-calorie, low-fat jello with the Doritos that were like the low-calorie Doritos. With the low-calorie, the baked Cheetos, baked Lays.
No, back in my day, it was just straight up like whatever. They didn't care.
And I've said this before on the air, but it bears repeating at least one more time while I was here. When I was a elementary school kid into junior high, one of the things that helped form in my mind about being on radio and broadcasting was the morning drive, if you will, radio show on the AM station in Greensboro, WBIG, which I thought were great call letters, and then the station ended up shutting down like in the 80s. I found out later. AM 1470. It was the Braves affiliate, too. We listened to it. That was the only baseball I'd get. But you had this old time radio host named Bob Poole, and he had been in New York. He'd been and worked in World War II and everything, but he was from North Carolina. He had this incredible baritone voice, this deep, deep voice, and he would read the school lunch menu. Today's school lunch menu: fried fish, collard greens, sliced cornbread, congealed cranberry salad, plain or chocolate milk. That's today's school lunch menu for today. Every now and then he would say, today's school lunch menu, and he'd hit the drop of Andy Griffith from what it was with football, going, 2 hot dogs and a big orange drink. He goes, no, it's not that. And then he would he would read the thing on that. But yeah, school lunch menus are different.
Did you ever hear a Diablo sandwich drop?
I never heard that one from Smokey and the Bandit. Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper, and make it fast. I'm gonna hurry. You want anything?
Hush puppies, Daddy.
We got no time for that crap. But we do have time for Inconceivable. That's next when we continue with Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. We're all trying to survive the summer. No question about that. This is the hottest season of the year. Why not try to make it a little easier on yourself? Get yourself a new Timberline solar shingle roof from my friend John Hardy and his great staff at Divided Sky Roofing and Solar. Maybe you already have solar. Maybe you did the solar panels or have solar shingles and a solar roof. But if you don't have a backup battery, then you're not able to utilize all the money that's available to you, because with a backup battery, you're able to use all of the power you make instead of giving it back to the power company. And the batteries are now covered by the Inflation Reduction Act, so you get that extra tax credit, which we can all certainly use. John and his staff are solar experts. They can repair and service your existing solar system. You know, those other roofers you hear about, all they're doing is selling you a solar roof. Divided Sky Roofing and Solar can repair and service your existing solar system. The entire crew are master electricians. They're all NABCET certified. That's the solar version of being a master plumber. So why not trust your roofing and solar needs to the experts, our friends at Divided Sky Roofing and Solar? You can give them a call, 512-995-ROOF. It's TEC license number 37397, or check them out on the web at dividedskyaustin.com. Some good offerings, by the way, on the Specs text line about a variety of things. We'll get to them after we do Inconceivable here. That some of them has to do with the school lunch cafeterias thing. Some about the
Guys, I figured out what that noise was. Somebody had the volume up on this TV, so I kept hearing Stephen A. Smith screaming at someone in my ear.
Then you knew where to look. Okay, It was on there. Some folks ready to give Isaiah Collier 8 levels of crap because he says he can never dunk. And here's Cam, who said in the opening minutes of the program how he dunked last night over at the Cedar Park Rec Center.
Does it count if you could grab the net? That's about
the bottom of it.
It's about as far.
Hang a finger in the bottom of the net.
It's about as far up as I got.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
My brother,
Bizarro Dale Dudley's very, very entertained by the whole dunking situation.
He is. So we'll get to some of that coming up. Okay. This is by definition kind of a fast food note, but not in terms of the food element of it. I found this amusing given the current climate of what is going on in this building and how Jeff and I and Cam, we have 1 week of shows left here on the program and other shows that'll be shutting down.
1 week from today.
A week from today, okay.
It's end of days.
Some locations, not a lot, not the majority that I know of or anything like that, but some locations of McDonald's have a posted sign now for its employees calling it a no-quit restaurant, that it's a no-quit restaurant.
And what that mean?
And what it means is it forbids employees from quitting without visiting with management. They declare themselves a no-quit restaurant, saying that it's decided to take a different approach instead of it being, transient culture, regular business expense. They displayed a no-quit sign within the restaurant. Essentially, employees working at these locations aren't allowed to resign without prior approval from management. Now, I know what you're thinking. We used to have a phrase for that sort of thing when I was in high school, and they would say, "You can't do that. And you would say, "Really? Watch me." That's what we used to say. Watch me. You don't think so? Watch me. But
so you tell me if you want to not work at McDonald's anymore, you got to go through the process of entering the transfer portal.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So the way that this has worked is the employees at this particular location they were talking about must meet with the McDonald's management to address the reasons for quitting, kind of like an exit interview, but why are you quitting? The statement that they put out seems appreciative because they begin by saying that the company values the employees, their growth, and the contributions that they make day in, day out. However, they do start to get assertive of the concept of being a quote-unquote no-quit restaurant, in the air quotes, which is the term we can't say we've ever heard before. They say there are many different situations that lead to employee resignation, many of which they feel can be resolved.
So what happens if you don't?
That's what I'm saying. You
like,
just,
does Mayor McCheese have you thrown in jail or what?
Yeah, they say you can't quit. Really? Watch me. But
You gonna be Sellies with the Hamburglar or something?
It's kind of like, I interpret it kind of like you've heard the bosses say, I'm out of here. You can't quit on me now. Don't quit on me. Let's talk about this. Don't quit on me. We can work through this. Kind of a more of a on a more industrial level of that sort
How about
of thing.
no? I'm out of here.
Yeah. I've had enough.
I make $12 an hour and I'm working till 3 in the morning. I think I'm good.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
good.
Yeah. So anyway, there's
Tired of going home smelling like sweat and fryer oil.
Yeah. Got some more airline stuff for you.
It's not United, is it?
No.
Spirit?
No. I don't know what this one specific airline is, but I can tell you another thing is I saw on Twitter last night, or X, whatever you're choosing to call it these days.
Whatever airline they used in the movie Soul Plane.
Yeah, right. I was one of the people I follow is Blair Schaefer. Vic's daughter is assistant coach of the team.
Yeah.
She was out recruiting and had a nightmarish experience getting back on Allegiant last night, which, of course, lands at the South Terminal. It doesn't land at Mater, and it was about 3 in the morning when she landed. But then there was this other other thing, and this isn't necessarily, in fact, it isn't the airline's fault, really. This is more about a relationship. A TikToker said her partner had decided not to pay an additional $11 fee to sit next to her on a flight. Now, you know how that stuff works, where if you're on a lot of airlines and you go and you buy a ticket, you can change your seat, or you can, when you select what seat you want, some seats that are better than others that might have the extended leg room or that kind of thing, but they cost more.
Right.
They cost $10 or $11 or $13 more, I've seen, 24 I've even seen, depending on where it is, that sort of thing. Well, apparently this couple's flying together, and this one guy gets his seat, and his partner has a seat that's in a better position, and she says, the seat next to me is available. He said, I'm not paying the $11 extra to do it. I'll see you when we land. So, yeah, that's an issue for that relationship, I guess, maybe.
$11? Like,
it's $11, yeah. You're going to do this over $11? So, yeah, there's that.
I had a scenario come up yesterday. I'm not going to name any names to protect the innocent, but there was a big kerfluffle about a party that I'm close to going to Whataburger, and they didn't want to pay the extra 50 cents for cheese. They're like, we'll just put cheese on the burgers when we get home. I'm like, you're already spending $30 on lunch. What's an extra 50 cents at that point?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
You know, like,
at that point,
it just hurt. This is stuff just like right here, just right around your temples, through the eyes, into the back of the head, just hurts so bad right in there.
That's good. All right.
By the way, thank you, CB, for keeping us updated. The bid for the Arch Manning card is now over $12,000.
Well, on that front, speaking of bidding, I know Cam has heard this. You're not a big soccer follower, so you may not have heard this.
No.
Okay, you know the type of money that's going around in soccer, mainly from the Middle East.
I think I know. Is this the Mbappe related note?
Yeah. So I just want you to consider this for a minute. With all of the stuff going on with Lionel Messi, right? And what he's getting and what he turned down, which was in the neighborhood of $350 million for 1 year to play in Saudi Arabia. I think it was
so.
Something like that. So you got Mbappe, who had turned down the Saudi Arabia club. Well, he hasn't quite turned it down yet. He's just considering this, as Al Hilal, the club, offered, first of all, to pay the $332 million transfer fee
to PSG.
Yep. That's 300 million pounds. 300. And then they offered him for one season, $775 million, 1 year, to do that. So he hasn't said he's not going to do. He hasn't said that. His time with he's at this impasse at Paris Saint-Germain right now. Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo checked in and said, Al Hilal, you can take me. I look like Mbappe. And he does bear a resemblance to him. So
you think we'll just call it Mbappe money now. You think Otani's going to get close to Mbappe money on the open market?
Not to that level, but it'd be a lot. There's no doubt about it. Hey, final thing. Listen, I know your big deal is the robot wars. You know what mine deal is.
That are happening. The primates.
Yep. You need to know that right now, in parts of Africa, there is like a civil war going on between silverback gorilla tribes.
Oh.
That they've like aligned with one another, and they're fighting one another. Tribes, wars between silverback gorillas. That they're like attacking one another, like in armed forces.
See, we need to get like a CNN crew reporting overseas on that.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just saying. They're organizing.
Don't scoff at this.
I'm just saying. It says it's not
The
unusual to see.
primates have human-like characteristics, like they putting on like war paint and whatnot.
That's what I'm talking about here. It says it's not unusual to see silverbacks with wounds and scars after these conflicts, one side against the other. Keep that in
Arming
mind.
themselves like Rambo at the end of First Blood, which Cameron didn't watch when I asked him to.
He hasn't seen Caddyshack either. That was discovered.
First Blood's a bigger deal than Caddyshack to me, but
I would disagree with you on that,
splitting hairs
but
on that
that's
one.
all right. We'll be back with second hour of Life. That's Hour of the Lord. Second hour of Light. That's Hour here on the Horn. Craig Way, Jeff Howe with you. Our producer, Cameron Parker, alongside as well. How about we do a magazine giveaway right now? How about be the fourth caller? 512-447-3776. Number 4 caller to get a copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, the 2023 edition. Be the fourth caller. 512-447-3776. You'll pick up a copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. A reminder, still giving away copies online as well. Folks have asked, are they still going to do the magazine after you guys are gone? I don't know the answer to that. And then other folks have said, what, any word yet on what the new lineup? I don't know the answer to that. Jeff and I live in short-timerville right now. So we're doing our job as good company employees and finishing out.
As I said,
our time.
When I leave the building on Tuesday after I record the Blitz, there's no plans for me to come back as of right now. So that's all I know. That's all I know to be true and factual.
Yeah. So we've told you everything we know up to this point, and so I can tell you that we're giving away copies all this week anyway, and up through next Tuesday. So we'll do that. Clean up from hour number 1. Victor on the Specs text line says breaking.
I got to read D-Fries when you're done.
Yeah, I saw that too. Breaking news on the fast food restaurant Wendy's has a new sandwich, the loaded nacho cheeseburger and a loaded nacho chicken sandwich. So, loaded nacho cheeseburger. Like any interest for you on there?
No, sorry, I'm just wrapped up in what D. Fry said because I believe he is 100% correct when you really think about it.
Okay, read it.
The fact that it is still undefeated. You can bet the farm that those gorillas are fighting over the opposing tribe's women.
Okay, certainly possible. That's
I
weird.
guarantee that somehow it had to do with a woman, Craig.
Well, this was
someone was wronged somewhere along the road.
Yeah. So this is the follow-up to the story I read about how tribes of silverback gorillas are warring against each other in Africa right now, not individual battles.
That's not how you saw that going, though. You figured the primates would attack us, not turn on each other.
First,
they turn on each other.
They establish the dominance of it. Then they organize against.
So then we'll have
humanity.
to organize the tribes that have fallen by the wayside that are in recovery to help us fight against the dominant species.
It would have to be that, because if you look around the regular people, you look at Washington lately, there's not going to be a consensus on anything to do that. For the person who said, "What's happening with the station?" Really? check the over the last 2 weeks what's been going down. Check the zones that check the Horns Twitter, check the Horns Facebook page. Didn't you say something else too about what the Horn? What
Twitter, Facebook page, Facebook,
Instagram, yeah. So do that. You'll get all the details on that.
You boys want to pull together some money to bid on this Arch Manning card?
Now up to $30K, according to CB. So yeah. So there you go. So there you go. You say I don't work with you. If you listen to us, you would know. If you've seen, if you've listened to us at all, you'll know what's happening. And so there it is. We're here for another week.
Yeah.
All the shows are here for another week, and then you can read about what's happening after that. So there. In response to what we were talking about Caddyshack today being 43 years ago today, now every time I practice shooting my rifle, freeze gopher, like Carl does from Caddyshack, my buddies burst out laughing. So, Carl, I told you to change the holes there. The golfers take out all the golfers. Excuse me, sir, if we take out all the golfers, wouldn't it be like I didn't say golfers. I said golfers. Now get busy. I'll take care of you, you fuzzy little foreigner. So, there's the scene where the ladies are on the golf course and he's there at the golf ball washer. Man overboard. I will teach you the meaning of the word respect. Oh, bark like a dog. You're lean and mean and not too far between, I bet either. So all those, we've been dropping all those Caddyshack lines that have, on this 43rd anniversary of the release of Caddyshack today, we've done that. $50 says the Smales kid picks his nose. And they're betting on that sort of stuff. Another 50 says he eats it. Oh man, that kid will eat anything. So anyway, so I said, well, I won't miss you, but I will miss Chad. Hey, I will miss him too. Hey, if I knew you, I could know if I missed you or not. But it's okay. It's okay. So, as Bizarro Dale Dudley said, what rock have you been under? Everybody's raising, going, dude, have you not paid attention at all to what's happening with the radio station? I'm not just being purposely rude to you. I'm laughing about it, going, really? So, anyway, I'm
trying to track down a particular football card, Craig, that I can't see and nobody seems to be able to have.
Yeah. Somebody said, thanks for the spoiler alert. Jeez, 43 years after the fact. Made. Point taken.
Would you like to know what it is?
Yes.
Just throwing it out there since we're talking about the Arch Manning card. 1967 Topps Football Wahoo McDaniel rookie card.
Wow. Playing for the Jets?
This Dolphins. I think it was this Dolphins card. Because when I was a kid and I was watching wrestling, my dad, who grew up on Houston wrestling, would take a look at the TV, no
Yeah.
matter who I'm watching,
Right.
the Macho Man or whoever,
Right.
and he would say, "Boy, I bet Wahoo McDaniel would whoop all of them." I'm like, "What?" And I didn't know about Wahoo McDaniel. Then as I got older and started to read more about Wahoo McDaniel, and I'm like, "Yeah, Wahoo McDaniel probably would have whooped a lot of people, no matter what era he was in." By the way, still holds the Oklahoma school record for the longest punt.
Does he really?
91 yards. Yep. That's the only reason every year I check the OU record book to see if Wahoo McDaniel still has the punt record.
That's one of those unique records.
When you bar bet with that, kids, Wahoo McDaniel has the record for the longest punt in OU football history.
So you were saying that a rookie card, it would not have been 1967 because he was rookie in 1960.
Right, but that's when Topps Publishers put out his rookie card.
I see. And you're right. He was with the Dolphins in 67, started his career with the Oilers in 60, then the Broncos, then the Jets. Then I think the Dolphins got him in the expansion draft that they had
Perhaps.
in 66 because he started in 66, actually, with the Dolphins.
If I see somebody said, I think I might have it. If you have a Wahoo McDaniel rookie card, I will pay top dollar for it.
Okay.
I'm looking for a good copy.
There you go. Nice. Okay.
I'm on the hunt for it.
Yeah.
Since Wahoo McDaniel was my dad's two favorite wrestlers were Wahoo McDaniel and Ivan Putski.
Oh,
So I got lots of stories about both of those guys.
Jeff,
Yeah.
can I ask you a really dumb question?
Go for it, Cam.
Why are rookie cards so much more valuable than other cards from a player?
Because it's the first card produced of that particular player. In a sense. So like you can get into, and it kind of the hobby itself determines what the rookie card is, right? Like let's take Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan, everybody looks at the Jordan rookie card where they think 86 Fleer, right? But Michael Jordan actually had cards produced, NBA cards produced before the 86 Fleer. There were the Star Card series, and those like they would give out at games, like in team sets.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get a Michael Jordan card, an official card produced before that 86 Fleer set, but the consensus is the Jordan rookie is the 86 Fleer.
Yeah.
I'm sure either one, though, could fetch a good
See,
amount
that's
of money.
the problem I have with that when you talk about the rookie card because he wasn't a rookie in 86.
Right. So
But I get it for the
Yeah.
company thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's changed. Like the rookie card is produced during the rookie year now.
Yeah.
And I think really when I noticed when it changed in baseball was when Upper Deck came out, because we all know what Upper Deck #1 was.
Yeah.
It's Ken Griffey Jr. rookie
That's
card.
right. Longhorn in Lubbock says, how about Dusty Rhodes? A Dusty Rhodes card.
I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Well,
about that one.
I think he's just saying Dusty Rhodes is his favorite wrestler.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Bizarro Del Deli says, after this, I'll leave it alone. If you put Cam, Zay, and Mark Henry in a room and you had to bet the mortgage on which two could ever dunk, who would you bet on? He goes, poor Zay.
I've seen video. There's video evidence out there that Mark Henry has and can dunk a basketball.
Yeah.
And
So-
Cameron did it last night. So that kind of
narrows the field there.
kind of narrows it down a little
Yeah.
bit, doesn't it?
Irving LAFC fan says Ivan Putski was a security guard at Hayes High School.
Yes, he was.
And somebody said, didn't his son play quarterback for He was a running back. And he went by Bednarski, went by the name, because he was playing, like I said, in the games when I was still in college, when I was doing the North Texas games, when I was the analyst working with the great, speaking of wrestling, the great Bill Mercer.
Yes, the
And-
great Bill Mercer.
And North Texas played TCU 4 times there in the 80s. 1-1, got beat handily in 2 games and should have won the other one. They should have split with him. He ended up winning just 1 out of the 4. But he was playing, believe it might have been Jason Bednarski. I'm trying to remember his name. But it was definitely Bednarski. He went Scott. It was Scott Bednarski. That's it.
That's Scott Putski, not a prominent wrestling career.
No. MJ from Herm wanting to know if you're still a fan of David Robinson.
I'm a huge fan of David Robinson. In my opinion, with all due respect to George Gervin, Tim Duncan, etc., in my opinion, the greatest Spur of all time is David Robinson.
Yeah, I know. And when we went down this road about your feelings about Tim Duncan.
And MJ says, I have several NBA Hoops rookie cards. Yep, I do too. Got a PSA 9 copy of the 89 Hoops, card number 138, where he's holding up the jersey. Love that card.
Mm-hmm. For the folks who asked me, what did I think of the sequel of Caddyshack? It was not good. I don't know it was as CB pointed out, one of the worst movies ever made. I don't know that I'd go that far, but it wasn't good. I'll just say that.
Somebody else mentioned one of my favorite cards. It's actually on a shelf in my office right now. 1980 Topps Ricky Henderson. It's a good one.
Yeah. Ryan Askey's in one of my schools, and I had Tex-Mex, Mexican food a lot. We're talking about the school cafeteria food and the pizzas and things like that.
What day was your hamburger day, Craig? I forget.
Ours was usually Thursday or Friday.
Okay. Florence ISD hamburger day was Wednesday. I don't know. Maybe it's just that a little extra oomph you need to get over the hump.
I think ours, at one of the elementary schools I went to, it was
Hump Day in Gerald, by the way, takes on a whole different meaning. We don't have time to get into that right now.
Yeah, right, exactly. One of the days at one of the elementary schools I went to, it was Thursday. The other one, they would do fish on Friday. On that,
the old lit.
Yeah. They had some of that, but I think the middle school and maybe the high school even, and I didn't eat much high school cafeteria food.
Cam, what was your hamburger day at school?
I have no idea.
You don't remember?
No, I don't.
Cam, how do you not remember?
I know Fridays was pizza.
Okay,
I'll tell you that.
You got that one staple food of during the week that
I didn't eat a lot of the hamburgers because the ones at the Charlotte Mecklenburg School District were not great.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's unfortunate.
The cheese sticks, however. You read the cheese sticks with the tomato dipping sauce? Oh man, marinara dipping sauce.
I got lunch detention one time because the cafeteria ran out of cheese sticks. They were out of burgers and then they ran out of cheese sticks, and I yelled, horse bleep, and the principal was standing right next to me, and she as nicely she could, Jeff, go sit in my office and you'll be there tomorrow. Well, it's not my fault. They ran out of stuff.
Somebody else pointed out.
Grab my container of jungle juice and go about my way then.
That's right. Somebody else pointing out the Wahoo McDaniel, not McDaniels as they spell out. That's kind of like from the Mac Brown, Tony Jeffries thing, but it's McDaniel. Used to be a bouncer at a wives club in Corpus Christi, Green Onion.
Sure he was. If I was hiring a bouncer back in his prime, I would hire Wahoo McDaniel.
True story. I work with a Bednarski, Ivan's nephew. He's built like a wrestler as well. Yeah, I think that was it. I think it was the nephew.
Was it the nephew?
I think it was the nephew. Bill Mercer for World Class Championship Wrestling from the Sportatorium. Yes, my first broadcast mentor. He's 96 years young and still sharp as a tack.
Scott Bednarski is Ivan's son.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Quarterback at Crockett, pretty good high school player, and then
who was a running back at TCU?
He was a running back at TCU.
You are correct, sir.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think we'd get this much Ivan Putski and Wahoo McDaniel talk in this segment, but I'm very, very happy that we have.
CB says the go-to lunch for him at Burnett Middle School was the Frito pie and a Dr. Pepper.
Ooh, that sounds incredible. They had Dr. Pepper in schools?
I know. We couldn't get it back then. Like I said, it was plain or chocolate milk.
Yeah, that was
it.
Occasionally, strawberry would be around. Ooh, that was a...
Now, this will tell you how old I am. The first elementary school I went to, when I was a real kid, in the late 60s, early 70s, you could get buttermilk if you wanted. You could get a glass of rose. I know, and I didn't like it.
Cow.
Now, I love buttermilk pie.
Buttermilk pecan pie, yes.
Yeah. But not just drinking a glass of buttermilk, but you could get that if you wanted to.
There was a charter school. They were notorious in Charlotte because they had Chick-fil-A on Fridays. Really? I asked my mom.
Went over by Myers Park, was it?
It was not, but probably, the same type of demographic that went to
Myers Park, kind of like Westlake of Charlotte, isn't it?
Yeah, Drake May. That's where Drake May went to high school.
Yeah, and Providence would be another one of those, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I would say a little bit below.
Okay.
But they're putting out some good athletes lately.
All right.
Jeff, on the Arch Manning card, do you think if Arch has, a great NFL career, maybe like Peyton or Eli, would his NFL rookie card be worth more than this college, I guess, freshman card?
It's tough to say. Because this would be the first one, and it would be, I think it would just have that cachet attached to it that, like, this is the first Arch Manning card. It depends, okay, I'll give you a perfect example that's right up your alley, Cam. and it's different because golf cards weren't really a thing until he was off and running. So Tiger Woods technically has a rookie card that is an Upper Deck rookie card from the first year Upper Deck produced golf cards, which was 2000 or 2001. But what's considered the Tiger Woods rookie card is his Sports Illustrated for Kids card that was published in 94, 95.
Wow.
So
when he's at Stanford.
Yeah, so the arch deal, and I don't know, it remains to be seen, like, when Fanatics takes over complete and full production of NFL cards, are they going to buy some of the licenses from Panini? Are they going to bring back some of the old Topps products, and what does that look like? So I think it's very much to be determined right now.
So are we all splitting and going in on this Arch Manning card?
Hey, if it keeps rising, no shot at that. By the way, did we have a winner of the Dave Campbell?
Jim from Lago Vista.
How about
Nice.
Jim? All right, Jim. Way to go. Congrats on that deal.
The Arch Madness has slowed down. It's still sitting at $30K. If you're interested,
it's settling in. It's holding steady at that. Somebody else said I was a teacher at Round Rock High from 94 to 98, and we had a Pizza Hut and a Taco Bell in the cafeteria. And
this texter is right too, Cam. Depends on the buyer. Some people don't like college uniforms and rather it be an NFL jersey.
Okay.
Well, good thing Texas has, one of the top
Iconic
college uniforms of all time. I haven't heard you guys talk about the Houston Oilers throwback jerseys coming back to the Tennessee Titans rotation this year. Any hot takes from y'all?
You want to get Jeff amped up about this?
No, not me amped up. This was my brother.
Oh yeah, it's your brother. It was mad.
I texted my brother because my brother was a huge Oilers fan. Like, I loved the Cowboys growing up. He loved the Oilers. Like,
how did that happen in your household? I said the guy who's a Rams fan, there, knowing there was a Packer fan, a Jet fan, and a Cowboy fan.
None of us
among my three.
My older brother, my dad, none
brothers.
of us were Oilers fans. My younger brother Joe loved the Oilers, and when the Oilers moved to Tennessee, he didn't watch the NFL until the Texans showed up in 2002. Like, he just did not watch the NFL. So I mess with him all the time. I'm like, dude, at some point, like, the Titans are going to wear, like, the Haywood Jeffries throwback jerseys at some point. He's like, they won't do it. He's like, no way. I texted him the screenshot when I saw it on Twitter. Took a screenshot. I was like, well, they did it. His immediate response was, quote, I hope whoever decided that gets herpes. My next response, and yes, the blue oil derrick is on the side of the helmet. His immediate response, hope they go 0-16. It would actually be 0-17, but he's in the heat of the moment. And Derrick Henry tears his ACL in the first game. So he's taking it well. Clearly.
It's probably the same reaction from Seattle fans if the Thunder brought back supersonic jerseys.
They should do that.
Well, it would not go over well.
Just kind of like the deal with Oilers / Titans, even though Bud Adams is no longer with us. He owned the Oilers first and then moved them to Tennessee. Clay Bennett had bought the Sonics and then moved them to Oklahoma City.
If it was anybody but Bud Adams, he might have just given the NFL the Oilers name back. Like, here, Houston can have this.
Or at least sold it back.
I've got my stadium. Yeah, whatever. But, man, if there's – I don't know. I'm not well-versed on my Bud Adams trivia. While he was still roaming this mortal earth, did he have a home in Houston? Did he go back to Houston?
Okay. Well, this became his big FU to the city because of the fans getting on him and how he'd become a pariah, demanding the new stadium, and then he leaves, and then they immediately pony up for Bob McNair and say, yeah, we'll have a new stadium because we're going to get a new team. So to his dying day, he had no love lost for Houstonians, just as Houstonians had no love lost for him.
I want to say I saw Bud Adams on camera one time. I think it was maybe owners' meetings, and he had his AFC championship ring on.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, yeah, I got a ring. He said, and that one's for Houston right there. He had it on his middle finger.
On the AFL days?
Yeah, he flipped the camera off. He's like, yeah, and that one's for Houston right there.
Oh, okay, when the Titans got to the Super Bowl against the Rams.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's a shame, too, because he was the charter owner of the Oilers. They won the first two AFL championships in 60 and 61 and lost in double overtime to the Dallas Texans in 62, who then the next season moved to Kansas City to become the Chiefs. And the Oilers appeared in one more AFL title game in 67. So, I mean, he had that long record of stuff, but the fans obviously are not going to forgive after everything that went down, the way it went down, and him moving the club. It's understandable. All right, up next, our Flex 30 update. We continue with the preseason All Flex watch team and watch list for the All Flex team. And then we'll have a second hour Longhorn Notebook when we continue Light the Tower on the Horn, 1049, 1019, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com.
gonna rid myself a house in the shade of the freeway.
This is Light the Tower on the Horn. Somebody on the Specs text line said, hey, Wednesday was cheese enchilada day. The Northeast ISD in San Antonio, delicious. The recipe even printed in the paper. I've told this story before. Growing up in North Carolina, the extent of Mexican food I had as a kid growing up was Taco Bell. I never had an enchilada till I came to Texas. Had heard of them.
You missed out.
Now, boy, did I. And let me tell you what else I missed out on. You know, chicken fried steak. I never even heard of chicken fried steak until I came to Texas. And I used to tell people all the time that God brought me to Texas for 3 reasons. To meet my wife, chicken fried steak, and sour cream and chicken enchiladas, and not necessarily in that order.
I had enchiladas last night.
Did you really?
The old chicken enchilada dinner at Herbert's.
Oh, that's awesome.
Strong. Hey, would you like a Wahoo McDaniel fun fact that'll only take 2 seconds?
Yep.
Wahoo McDaniel played on a Little League baseball team in Midland, Texas in the early 1950s. His coach of that Little League team?
Yes.
How about George Herbert Walker Bush? Was Wahoo McDaniel's Little League coach. Wow. Also, here's another one. Wahoo would do anything to win a bet. Once drank, some people say it was a quart, but he told Sports Illustrated, drank a few tablespoons of motor oil to win a bet. Told us, I quote, that oil made me sick for months. Every time I'd sweat, I could feel the stuff oozing out. I smelled like an old pickup truck. In those days, I'd do anything on a bet. Eat a gallon of jalapeno peppers, didn't matter.
Wow.
Yeah. What a badass. If you just look up badass in a dictionary, there's a picture of Wahoo McDaniel.
We have some more breaking news, guys.
Let's have it.
Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, reporting that Jim Harbaugh expected to get a 4-game suspension in latest recruiting probe by the NCAA.
He's negotiating that, right? A negotiated suspension.
They're discussing an agreement right now that would see him serve a 4-game suspension as part of the investigation into potential recruiting violations within the program, according to Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger.
Sleep at a kicker's house, and this is what happens.
And then Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, reported that negotiations between the two parties broke down because Harbaugh, quote, has refused to sign any document or publicly state that he was ever untruthful with the enforcement staff, unquote.
See? It's not the infractions that are getting him in trouble. This is the whole Des Bryant bit.
Yeah.
It's not the infraction that the NCAA has a problem
it's cover
with.
Up.
It's that you lied about
in
your involvement in said infraction.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll continue to monitor that. Right now, let's hit a Flex 30 update.
Shout out to Dr. Eckert.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. Greg Eckert.
You're a dentist, correct?
He is definitely my dentist.
Get your chompers right.
Absolutely. The 2024 preseason all-flex watch list today profiles the special teams, and that includes the following. Westlake kicker, Spencer Burnett. Elgin place kicker, Peyton Moss. Kai Haruki from Round Rock. You saw him, Cam, and you know how good he is. Owen Norrell from Westwood, their punter. Ivan Rodriguez, the Leander punter. Evan Vosky of Northeast, their punter. Deep snapper Jake Helms from Westlake, who, of course, was, all flex as well last year. Luca Wilson of Cedar Park, their deep snapper. Another deep snapper, Tristan Compton of Hutto. And then you have returners, Leonard Moore from Round Rock, Heath McCree from Westlake, Bryson Batts from Austin High, Adrian Wilson from Weiss, and Vandegrift, standout and profiled in Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, Miles Coleman. So there it is, your special teams update for today. Tomorrow it'll be defensive backs on our preseason watch list for the all-flex team. I'm
guessing Leonard Moore, the Notre Dame commit's probably going to show up on that list too.
Just like he just showed up on the returners there. Absolutely. All right, let's move on, transition into our Longhorn Notebook.
So just to give everybody something to look forward to, I'm out tomorrow, and you can look forward to me being out tomorrow. Tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow, Craig, a little spoiler.
Yeah.
I will be over at the Tito's facility down on the 40.
Okay.
Supposed to do a little sit down with Rodney Terry tomorrow.
Excellent.
So when I get back on Friday, I'll have some notes from that, just as I had notes from my chat with David Pierce, coaching school.
Yep.
So look forward to that on Friday. Not a lot of time in this notebook. I'll just direct you over to Horns 24/7. My colleague, you can get the full breakdown. Also, my colleague Eric Henry has an update on the Arch Manning Panini deal. Hank South and Hudson Standish and Jordan Scruggs on the recruiting front, getting everything you need to know. We've got some thoughts from Steve Wiltfong, our National Director of Recruiting, on what he likes about the Texas class to this point. And kind of something we were talking about yesterday, Craig. Chip Brown has a column up that ranks, this is Chip's opinion, not mine, that ranks the games on the Texas schedule in order of difficulty.
Okay.
I'm going to take a wild guess what he thinks the most difficult game on the schedule is.
For Texas?
Yeah, I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count.
I'll just say September 9th, and we'll just move on from there.
Yeah, it's going to be the Bama game.
Yeah.
In order from there, Kansas State, which is the one I talked about yesterday, the Chris Kleiman factor, at TCU, understandable. This is where I would tend to disagree with Chip. In order, he goes Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Iowa State. I would move Iowa State. I would probably go Iowa State, Oklahoma, then Tech.
Okay.
In that order, just because I said it yesterday, where the Iowa State game falls. Cam, am I wrong? I feel like I'm almost irrationally nervous.
Those last 3 games are really tough for Texas.
At Iowa State. Craig, you've been to Ames in mid to late November?
Yep. Only have to do it one more time, too.
That trip's not fun. That trip is manageable when the weather's good, but when the weather's bad, it
can be difficult.
It sucks. I was there in the freaking fighting tornadoes and monsoons and everything else to get up there on Halloween 5-6 years ago, whenever that was. And then I just think Chip's got Kansas too low. He's got Rice, the least difficult, Houston next, which that could be a dumpster fire, the Houston season. It's just that thing feels like it's on the verge of just coming undone. Then followed by Wyoming and then Kansas, the 4th least difficult game. I think KU is going to be a tough out just because of the Jalen Daniels factor.
He thinks the Wyoming game will be more difficult than the Kansas game?
No, the Kansas game would be more difficult than the Wyoming game.
All right.
That's where I would disagree with him too on that. Just again, the Jalen Daniels factor. Like Devin Neal might be the best player in the Big 12 that nobody really talks about. There's always a good candidate for that guy. Mm-hmm. I just think people forget how good he was last year. Didn't have a great game against Texas. Didn't he got hurt in the Texas game though? He had a neck or
Neal.
Devin Neal, yeah.
Yep.
Neck or shoulder stinger or something. And by the time he got hurt anyway, Lance Leipold was smart. There was no reason to run him back out there.
It was well out of reach.
So, and then if you're playing, where is this transfer quarterback now? Anybody want to take, Cam, you want to take a guess who the quarterback is for BYU this year? He's on his 3rd school in as many years.
Keaton Slovis.
You win the prize for today. Keaton Slovis is
former Pitt Panther.
Yeah, former USC Trojan. Just
Yeah.
like Texas will see JT Daniels.
That's
playing
right.
For Rice.
Okay.
So this you can go to Horns 24/7, get more of that. But and again, I think Baylor is too high because Baylor is one of those wild card teams. I have no idea what to expect from Dave Aranda's crew.
Before we get to the end here, there was a thing that came out. I normally don't pay too much attention to this group, but they had an interesting thing. It's bookies.com. They looked at the schedule for each Big 12.
You getting into some FIPO lines there?
Not for me, but this is kind of interesting. They looked at the schedule for every Big 12 team to compute the linear distance each team will travel in miles for 2023. Care to take a guess at which Big 12 team will travel the most miles this season?
It's either BYU or West Virginia.
You'd be wrong on both counts.
Central Florida?
There you go.
Okay.
Then BYU.
I'm sorry. UCF.
That's right.
UCF people get really pissed off.
Yeah, they wanted to be UCF, and it says UCF. UCF number 1, 14,914 miles. BYU second, 12,741 miles. West Virginia, 10,416. Then it goes Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Cincinnati, Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma, Houston, Texas, 12th out of the 14. TCU and Kansas State travels the fewest miles, 3,240. The Longhorns set to travel 4,147 miles this year.
Bevo's only lead the state twice.
That's it. So,
Tuscaloosa and Ames.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 2 very different college football experiences. Although I've been to Jack Trice when it's gotten it's gotten a little rowdy.
Yeah, and I think it probably will be for that last go-around this fall. We'll be back to wrap up today's edition of Light the Tower on the Horn.
Talking about all these college football games. If you want the best football viewing experience, whether it's college football, pro football, maybe you like watching high school football on Thursdays or Fridays, whatever your favorite football format is, make sure you're watching it in the best way possible by getting in touch with Tom McKay and the folks at Audio Visual Consultations. Whatever you need on the home entertainment front, just let Tom and his crew take care of it. Call them right now, 512-255-8678. That's 255-8678. Whatever you need. What I love about AV Consultations is Tom McKay and his crew will put together a project that not only makes sense for your budget, it makes sense for the amount of space you have in your house. That's why I am so in love with my 75-inch LG TV and my Sonos sound system. So if you've got the amount of room, the amount of space to get that same setup like I've got, they can make that happen. Maybe you want something smaller. Maybe you need a gaming setup. Maybe you want 4 TVs in one spot. Tom's got experience doing all of that. If you go to any Pluckers, the Pluckers setups are all done by AV Consultations. And if you just want to blow it out and make your house the spot for football watching in your neighborhood or with your buddies this fall, get you one of those 150-inch screens, just a full tilt home theater experience. Tom McKay would love to make that dream become a reality. Just don't waste any more time. Get in touch with AV Consultations right now and get your appointment set up. 512-255-8678. That's 255-8678. Call right now and let Tom McKay and Audio Visual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment setup of your dreams.
So we near the end of the program here today.
As Bubba Sparks takes us home.
Yeah.
Or takes me into the next studio for the Blitz.
Yeah, and then takes you out of the office for the next 2 days.
Indeed.
What is it you got going? What is that? You told me.
We don't have childcare, and
That's
the
it.
wife has to work.
That's right. I
so-
remember you scheduled these days on back some time
right,
ago, but
so
I can't
I'll have
remember that.
I'll
Yeah.
have a guest with me.
Have
at the,
fun with that.
Tito's facility tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll work around it.
All right. We'll be back with you tomorrow. For our man behind the glass, our producer, Cameron Parker, and for my co-host, Jeff Howe, I'm Craig Way. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. Chad and Zay are up next. We'll visit with you tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock right here on Light the Tower.